Carroll Shelby didn't just build cars, he built legends that rumble through generations like rolling thunder. Each machine carries a spark of the man's restless imagination, turning ordinary metal into cultural lightning. If you've ever wondered how one Texan reshaped the identity of American muscle, settle in. These cars tell the story on today's episode of Horsepower Nation. First off, who was Carroll Shelby? Carroll Shelby grew up in Texas, surrounded by open land and practical machinery, long before the world knew his name. He explored several careers and passions throughout his early adulthood, eventually finding his way into motorsports and the vibrant communities that came with it. Even after health issues ended his time behind the wheel, Shelby remained drawn to cars and the culture forming around them. That pull led him naturally towards building cars of his own, where his bold personality, daring ideas, and love of spirited design shaped some of the most memorable vehicles ever created. His influence became a defining force in automotive history. Everybody got that? Good. And now the greatest cars ever created by Carroll Shelby. Number 10, the 1987 Shelby CSX. The Shelby CSX was Carroll Shelby slipping into the 1980s like a fox wearing sunglasses. Compact, unassuming, built from a humble economy car, it arrived with the vibe of a prank that turned out to be brilliant. The decade was obsessed with digital futurism and synthesizers, yet Shelby walked in and said, "Let's give these little cars attitude." The CSX revealed something crucial about Shelby. He wasn't just a creator of big rumbling icons, he loved surprising people. He liked taking an everyday object and injecting it with personality until the world's eyebrows collectively raised. Beyond the badge and styling, the CSX represented Shelby's refusal to fade into nostalgia. Many legends would simply rest on their earlier work, content to let the past do the talking. Not Shelby. He lived forward, always reaching for the next weird canvas for the next masterpiece. The CSX was that canvas, and for many fans, it became the hidden gem of his later creations, quirky, spirited, and unmistakably Shelby. Number 9, the 1989 Shelby Dakota pickup. Before anyone thought performance pickup made sense as a concept, Shelby tossed the idea onto the table like an unexpected Christmas gift. The Dakota was half truck, half dare, a novelty that somehow felt necessary the moment it arrived. What made it interesting wasn't just what it was, but why it existed. Shelby liked to play. He liked to take categories that were tidy and toss them into a blender. In a world where coupes, sedans, and sports cars, here came a truck with a Shelby signature. It made purists blink, casual fans grin, and curious buyers tilt their head like a dog hearing a weird noise. The Dakota's true legacy, it foreshadowed the era when trucks would evolve into lifestyle icons instead of just utility mules. Shelby saw the future long before it came roaring across the rest of America. The Dakota stands as one of his most forward-thinking, eyebrow-raising creations. Number 8, the 1999 Shelby Series 1. The Series 1 was Carroll Shelby at full, I want to make something entirely my own mode. It was not a modified existing car. It was not a collaboration that began life as another company's platform. It was his, conceived from a clean sheet, guided by instinct, ambition, and creative freedom. For decades, Shelby's fame lived in cars adapted from other automakers, but the Series 1 let him step into the role of maker rather than modifier. This car carried the feeling of a novel written without co-authors. Its shape was modern, almost liquid in its curves, as if sculpted from the idea of speed itself. Where others saw nostalgia as a doorway, Shelby's treated the Series 1 as a blank horizon. It became a rare artifact in his portfolio, futuristic, experimental, and bold. Even today, collectors talk about it the way art critics talk about a painter's unexpected late-career masterpiece. Number 7, the 1983 Dodge Shelby Charger. The Shelby Charger was a spark of trouble dressed like a commuter car. It didn't look outrageous, yet it carried the unmistakable energy of someone winking from across the room. Shelby knew how to blend expectations, and the Charger was a perfect example. It was the early 1980s. Automakers were cautious. Gas prices had changed the whole culture. Many cars became sensible, quiet, and and restrained. Shelby, naturally, couldn't resist shaking things up. He took a modest little coupe and gave it a swagger it had never dreamed of. The Charger's charm wasn't that it was intimidating or rare, it was that it felt rebellious on a budget. It offered an accessible taste of Shelby personality to a generation who grew up seeing his name on exotic machines they could only dream of. The Shelby Charger was the people's Shelby, fun, youthful, and a little bit rowdy. Number 6. The 1967 Shelby GT500. The 1967 GT500 remains one of the most recognizable silhouettes in American automotive culture. This isn't just because of its name or styling, it's because it projected an aura that felt larger than life. The car had a cinematic presence, the kind of machine that didn't simply sit in a driveway, but claimed territory. Shelby had a gift for turning an existing idea into something with presence, personality, and emotional volume. The GT500 arrived during the peak of American car enthusiasm. It embodied that moment like a time capsule dipped in charisma. It felt authoritative without being arrogant, cool without trying, and iconic without effort. People didn't just drive his car, they adopted it. They cherished it, they dreamed about it. The GT500 is one of those rare machines that transcends its era and becomes a cultural symbol, recognized even by people who know nothing about cars. Number 5. The 1968 Shelby GT500KR. Nicknames don't always land, but when Shelby decided to call his car King of the Road, he didn't miss. The GT500KR strutted onto the stage with confidence. It was bold, dramatic, and visually commanding. It had a certain magnetism that made people glance twice, then a third time, just to let it sink in. Every detail of the KR radiated intention. Not technical intention, emotional intention. It was Shelby turning a Mustang into royalty and soaking it in theater. You didn't need to know how anything worked under the skin. The car's aura told you everything you needed to know. Even today, decades after its debut, the GT500KR has that uncanny effect where people walk around it slowly, absorbing the lines and presence. It stands as one of Shelby's most emotionally potent creations, a road monarch worthy of the crown. Number 4. The 1965 Shelby GT350. The GT350 was the spark that ignited an entire movement. It redefined what a Mustang could represent. While the original Mustang captured America's imagination as an affordable, stylish car for the masses, the GT350 stepped forward like its rebellious older sibling. It carried attitude where the base model carried charm. But what makes it fascinating isn't the technical transformation, it's the cultural one. The GT350 created a new identity for the Mustang, planting the idea that the car could be something fierce, focused, and bold. It sparked a subculture, it inspired loyalty, it shaped decades of automotive storytelling. And its stripes. These stripes didn't just decorate the car, they branded an entire performance lineage. Even children who can't spell Shelby know what those stripes mean. Number 3. The 1965 Shelby Daytona Coupe. The Daytona Coupe is the chapter of Shelby's story that often feels like folklore. Its shape is singular, unmistakable, and unapologetically exotic. Where most American cars of the era looked muscular and upright, the Daytona looked like it was sculpted from the wind itself. Its creation wasn't just ambitious, it was audacious. The Daytona was Shelby reaching across the ocean and challenging the world's most storied road racing cultures. But beyond racing implications, its design alone makes it fascinating. It's unlike anything else Shelby ever touched, blending American grit with an almost European aesthetic fluidity. With only a handful ever produced, the Daytona Coupe acquired a sort of mythological status. It's the car that feels like it slipped out of a dream and into history, leaving behind a streak of legend wherever it went. Number 2. 1966, the Shelby GT350H, the Rent-A-Racer. The GT350H is one of the most brilliantly outrageous ideas in automotive history. A Shelby you could rent. Yes, rent. As in, walk into a Hertz counter, fill out the paperwork, and walk away with a Shelby wearing iconic black and gold colors. Only Carroll Shelby could pull off something like this. You never heard about it before or since. It combined his love of fun, his sense of showmanship, and his knack for stirring the pot. The GT350H wasn't just a car, it was an experiment in chaos, a celebration of accessibility, and a chapter of car culture that still inspires stories. People rent them for the weekend and return them, let's just say in well-loved condition. The GT350H didn't just blur the line between ordinary and extraordinary, it obliterated it with a grin on its face. And finally, the #1 greatest car by Carroll Shelby. The 1962-67 Shelby Cobra. Mic drop. At the top of the mountain sits the Cobra, the car that transformed Carroll Shelby from an interesting figure into an immortal figure. The Cobra is more than a vehicle. It is a symbol, a myth, a cultural monument. Its proportions are iconic, its personality unmistakable, and its stance suggests coiled potential, ready to leap, ready to shout, ready to leave claw marks on the asphalt. What makes it the greatest isn't technical details, it's emotional resonance. The Cobra became the ambassador of Shelby's identity, fearless, inventive, unpredictable, and larger than life. The car created an entire subculture of replicas, tributes, fantasies, posters, and lifelong obsessions. People don't just admire Cobras, they orbit them. Even among the greatest American cars ever built, the Cobra exists in its own category. Not merely legendary, but mythic. Well, that's it for today's episode. I hope you loved it, and if you didn't, piss off. Shelby's a legend. Do me a favor and watch more videos. Like, subscribe, share, and for God's sake, sign up to support the channel. I would greatly appreciate it if you could do all of that stuff right now. Till then, take care, have yourself a great day.